Before we go any further, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon, because without their help, none of this upgraded content that you be seeing would be possible. Over on the Patreon, you get exclusive sneak peeks at upcoming videos. You also get access to the Patreon only Discord server. Coming up soon, I'm going to be working on talking about other anime that I can't talk about here on YouTube, like say ReZero, Konosuba, and etc. I'm also going to start posting the scripts for video essays, and every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul. We also are going to open up the Patreon only Discord server to YouTube members at the $2 price tier, which also means that members will be seeing their name here alongside the patron. But with that being said, let's get back into today's video. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto Naruto Next Generations chapter 77. And now that chapter 77 is done in the books, we got a lot to talk about, because the moment of that betrayal we've been waiting for the last handful of years since Kawaki got introduced into the manga timeline is finally here. Kawaki has betrayed Naruto and sealed Naruto away in the most disrespectful way ever, inside of his house, after telling him, "I'm gonna kill your son." And then to add insult to injury, Hinata was sealed away alongside Naruto. It's a gut punch of a reminder that for as strong as Naruto is, he's currently too weak to protect his own family from Kawaki. We open up Boruto's story with Boruto not understanding the role of the Hokage in Naruto chapter 700, and taking for granted how blessed he is to have both of his parents in Naruto Gaiden and in Boruto the movie. And now at the end of Boruto part 1, we have Boruto and Himawari ending off part 1 as orphans. It's a really poetic reminder that in the chapter where the story moves away from what Boruto referred to as the story of father and son at the beginning of his story, but eventually just becomes Boruto's story, we now have Boruto beginning this story without Naruto, the same way that we began Naruto's story, which is the story of an orphan without parents. But there's a change here. Boruto at least has a sister. Now that we got my initial knee-jerk reaction out of the way, let's back things up a bit and let's get into the chapter review itself. So the chapter opens up with Kawaki absolutely livid that Momoshiki and Boruto are sharing a body, and they're able to communicate despite Boruto trying to downplay the situation a bit. We see that not even the words of Boruto or the direct orders from Sarada are enough to stop Kawaki, who is taking out his frustration on Boruto. During that time, Sumire has a moment where she thinks back to Kawaki's reaction upon Kawaki learning that Boruto was still alive, and she begins to put all the pieces together. But we as a community, we've already seen this coming, because in the chapter where Kawaki learned that Boruto was alive, we all saw how Kawaki's dojutsu caught on right away, as if to imply he had unfinished business, and the cold stances that he's taken towards Boruto in the other chapters, especially after he saw Momoshiki outside of Boruto's body a few chapters ago. We all knew that this was coming. So getting back to the chapter itself though, we then see Shikamaru try to appeal to Kawaki's humanity once he sees Kawaki cannot be stopped and will not be stopped, and asks Kawaki if he remembers the pain expression on Boruto's face. And for a moment, it appears as if Kawaki does remember the way Naruto screamed Boruto's name and how he was so distraught at the sight of his dead son that Naruto couldn't even stay in sage mode after he realized his son was dead, crying tears that only a father holding their dead child would ever do. The display of love for a child did get recalled by Kawaki, and Shikamaru takes his silence to try to continue reasoning with him, because Shikamaru thinks he's Naruto. He thinks he has Talk no Jutsu. However, Shikamaru's plan to appeal to Kawaki's humanity, it backfires. Kawaki just walks off, and when questioned, he pretty much tells Boruto and company to mind their own business because he's got his own business to attend to. After Shikamaru and the sensory team lose their tracking of Kawaki, who is suppressing his chakra signature, which is a reminder it's something that Otsutsuki can do naturally, it's then that the truth is realized. Kawaki isn't just hiding his chakra, he also shrank himself down using the Sukuna Hikona in order to move completely undetected, a move that likely makes Jigen and Ishiki both smile up from the underworld when they look up at Kawaki. However, while all this is going on, Ada and Damon, they just walk out the room, with Ada demanding that Sarada and Sumire, they join her on that shopping trip. It's another sign that for as big brained as this mission that Shikamaru put together to have them all inside of a house on house arrest, it's blowing up in his face. It was all reliant on these powerful people just complying with this request for the mission that they stay willingly under his house arrest. Kawaki was stronger than any Konoha shinobi, and when he decided to leave, there was nobody who could stop him. Ada and Damon, the same thing applies. They didn't hesitate to leave the moment that Ada felt like it, which goes back to what I told you guys when Ada first arrived in Konoha. She's been very passively aggressively letting it known that she wasn't going to comply with Shikamaru by turning down the escort to the hideout. Instead, Ada just flew there herself. herself. It's an open act of defiance and it's a warning that she does things on her own terms and she cannot and will not be controlled. Right now things are spiraling in the wrong direction for Shikamaru. We then see that Code has been fortifying his defenses by continuing to make those 10-tailed soldiers, and he's now created an insane number of 10-tailed soldiers. And when asked if he's done enough by Bug, Code pretty much lets it be known that he might have lost his edge of surprise because of Ada, but the sheer numbers of soldiers that he's making, he's planning to cause major damage when he does make his move. And in that one moment he raises the stakes because Ada relays that information to Shikamaru, letting him know that Code has built up an army of 10-tailed soldiers made up out of 10-tailed chakra, and that he blames Kawaki for the death of Ishiki and for stealing her away, which is just another further reminder for readers that Code, for the longest time, he's blamed Kawaki for everything that goes wrong, and that jealousy of Kawaki has led to making some very irrational decisions. However, taking a page out of Oda's book from One Piece, where Oda will hit you with the heavy hand before there's the soft hand with some humor sprinkled in, well, this chapter also has humor that offsets the serious tone of what we have in the overall chapter. Ada is shown trying on various outfits, and she's got the salespeople, they're simping over her, telling her that everything looks absolutely gorgeous on her, and we have Sumire playing along with it as well. And eventually Shikamaru tries to get things back on track, which shows that Shikamaru is fighting off those simp urges. He at least recognizes that he's got a chance with Ada right here. She's playing ball and telling him information, so he needs to strike while the iron's hot because Ada is fickle. She feels like sharing intel right now, but she can easily change her mind, so kudos to Shikamaru for keeping that cool head on his shoulders. We then see Boruto and Damon together, with Damon treating Boruto like a horse, getting a piggyback ride, which both is a reminder that Damon is the alpha of this relationship and calls all the shots. If he tells Boruto drop the soap, Boruto not only drops the soap, but he asks Damon how far over should he bend over to pick it up. But also due to the fact that Damon has his hands on Boruto, anyone who tries to think of a malicious intent aimed at him is gonna end up having that attack aimed back at them. So essentially Damon's running his reflection at all times. However, this leads to Damon seeing Himawari and jumping off of Boruto's back, and Damon lunges towards Himawari with his fist raised, but before he can hit her, Damon suddenly stops, and it's not because he realized he was about to hit Himawari. If you can't tell by now, that boy Damon believes that equal rights exist, but so do equal lefts. Boruto is shown trying to drag Damon away from Himawari, but I think the more telegraphed answer for what happens is actually hidden in Damon's words here. He says he felt a huge surge in power inside of Himawari, and that Boruto isn't right when he says that she isn't a fighter. It was only for a moment, but Damon sensed an enormous amount of power inside of Himawari, and he expected her to be able to dodge a full-blown frontal attack from him. This one scene has moved me away from thinking that Himawari knocked out Naruto in one hit, disabling all of his chakra points and disabling access to Kurama's chakra in one hit, as being a gag moment that was in that one-shot manga the day Naruto became Hokage. For the longest time, I thought maybe there's something else to it, but this is likely a gag scene. This officially has me thinking Himawari might very well be the Gohan of this generation. There are signs being planted right now that she's about to explode later on. Himawari might be a Chekhov's gun waiting to go off. Keep your eyes on Himawari. And it's so funny that this is the case, because while everyone was complaining how overpowered Boruto is now that he's got the power to back up his skill, we have a clear sign that Himawari is going to be a monster, especially now that she is going to have incentive to become a ninja now that her parents are sealed away. It's one thing for her to have all this hidden power and potential, but she now has every reason to harness it. Those memes of Himawari locked on, that's going to be a reality now. You can pretty much bank on it. Again, Himawari is a Chekhov's gun waiting to go off. We then shift over to the heartbreaking part of the story, where we see the Hokage guards of Naruto watching over his house as he joins Hinata for dinner. We see Naruto looking extra relaxed as he sits down with Hinata, but this happily married couple is in for a rude awakening when they look up and they see Kawaki entering the room, and Naruto immediately asks why isn't Kawaki at the house that they set up for him, and Kawaki redirects by calling the guards outside and the sensory team useless because they rely on tracking chakra signatures too much, which is another sign that Kawaki is consciously masking his chakra now, behaving every bit like the very thing he hates, the Otsutsuki clan itself. But most importantly, with that one statement, Kawaki has asserted his dominance over Naruto, because he's letting Naruto know all these precautions you put into place, they're useless. Kawaki begins to get Naruto to lower his guard by saying he wants Naruto to promise him not to alert the guards or the sensory unit that he's there, and Naruto, being the ever-trusting fellow that he is, doesn't let anybody know but tries to talk things out with Kawaki, asking him about the mission, and you can tell Naruto's in the process of trying to assess the situation, see how much of that handy-dandy talk no jutsu he has to whip up, but that's when Kawaki begins to lay it thick on Naruto, and you get your first signs that Naruto might try and use talk no jutsu, but Kawaki has the one thing no villain in Naruto ever had. Kawaki has a mute button. So Kawaki then tells Naruto that he's grateful for everything that he's done from taking him into his home, treating him like his son, giving him a reason to exist beyond being a vessel for Ishiki. It's an effective writing tool meant to soften you up for that big knife that's getting ready to get plunged into you, because while reading this, your first thoughts are Kawaki getting beat by Jigen, being sold by his birth father, being experimented on by Amato, and then you're likely thinking about how Naruto shared ramen with him in the anime, shared food with him at the dinner table, clothed him, he bathed him, he trained him as his own student. The 50 chapters of bonding that we saw with Naruto and Kawaki is all coming to a head as the very things that Amato and Shikamaru warned us were coming to pass. Kawaki's love for Naruto has turned into a madness, an obsession that doesn't allow for him to see things properly. He's a flower that's barely received any water, was barely kept alive, and then someone like Naruto came along with water and watered the flower so much that the roots were overwhelmed and it killed the flower. Obviously in this scenario, Kawaki is the flower and Naruto's the gardener who overwatered the flower too much by showering Kawaki with the love of a father. At this point, you can tell that Naruto senses something's off with Kawaki, someone who Naruto knows is stronger than him, but he's so blinded by his love for Kawaki as an adopted son that he doesn't see what's coming. He's telling him, you saved my daughter's life, you tried to protect me more than once, you aren't necessarily a bad person. And then that's when Kawaki rips the band-aid off and tells Naruto, in a world such as this, people like Naruto, they're gonna die, especially if Otsutsuki continues to exist, and that he's gonna use the power that Otsutsuki gave him to destroy every Otsutsuki that exists in the world, which leads to Hinata putting the pieces together before her husband. Hinata speaks in disbelief before Kawaki continues, saying that he was shocked that Boruto was alive, but this time he's gonna make sure that when he does kill Boruto, it's for keeps. And that leads to Hinata turning into Mama Bear and slapping Kawaki across the face the same way Will Smith smacked Chris Rock across the face, because Hinata understood her worst fear had been realized. The life of her firstborn child was in danger, the very same child they named in honor of Neji, since Boruto's name is a pun on the meaning of Neji's name, Boruto meaning bolt and Neji meaning screw. This was a very beautiful scene when you dig deep into it. In this moment, despite Kawaki hearing Naruto and Hinata's objections and Naruto drawing a huge line in the sand, making it clear that if Kawaki were going to try and kill Boruto, then he would at least have to kill Naruto. And Kawaki in that moment, when that line was stated by Naruto, you can tell that the decision was cemented for him. In his mind, he's doing the right thing, even if Naruto doesn't understand it. Boruto is Boruto, but Boruto is also Momoshiki, and he knows Momoshiki is up to something using Boruto, at which point the only option is to kill Boruto before this happens. Kawaki cuts on Ishiki's dojutsu, and the eye evolves for the first time into the fifth spoke of the Dharma wheel, indicating Kawaki has unlocked more of Ishiki's powers, and we get the heartbreaking scene where Naruto and Hinata are sealed away by Kawaki, and we see Naruto desperately reaching out, just as he once reached out for Kurama before Kurama faded into the nothingness. This time, he's reaching out both to try and connect with that adopted child who he's lost, but he's also hoping against hope, reaching out to see if he can protect his firstborn child from harm, to fulfill his promise he made to him in Boruto episode 220, where Naruto vowed to give his life before he let anything happen to Boruto. The chapter ends off with that shattered family photo of the Uzumaki family, and the symbolism is key here. We've reached the conclusion of the story that Boruto told us about in chapter 1, where he said this was the story of father and son, but eventually this becomes his story. And honestly, this should have slapped you in the face that we were coming to this point when Naruto was willing to use Baryon mode, thinking it was going to kill him, and he ended up giving Kurama's life in exchange for the power that was needed to protect Boruto and Kawaki from Ishiki Otsutsuki. For Naruto to sacrifice so much of Kawaki to give up the very power that helped him save the ninja world multiple times over, only to be betrayed by that very child he was trying to protect, is going to give him something to think about, including the warnings of Shikamaru and the initial warnings of the Kage, who had to be talked into allowing Naruto to keep Kawaki inside of Konoha. He's now joined Hiruzen and Minato as a Hokage, who have had their students turn against them when they were Hokage, with Orochimaru and Obito betraying them respectively. This is going to bring me to my chapter question. Now that Naruto's been sealed away, do things finally feel as if anything can happen, or did removing Naruto from the story via betrayal not do enough to raise the stakes. While you think that over, click here to watch my Chainsaw Man Chapter 118 review, or click here to watch this Naruto Explain video.